What's up, everybody? How's it going? Good. It's so good to be here. This is super. This is really exciting. This is my first time in Argentina today. It's my first time. Yeah, thanks. So super cool. Yo. Yeah.
A lot of people ask.
Of course. Yeah. So, how many of you guys speak English? Do you guys? Okay, that's quite a lot of you. How many of you guys think that you would rather have a translator talking a little bit? Interesting.
Pregunta Jacob, ¿a quién le gustaría que haya un traductor? Levante la mano, por favor.
I don't know. What should we do? Let's start with it and see how it goes. Yeah. Okay, nice. Sit. Well, you should sit as well. No, it's okay. Maybe we should get the other chair from the piano. Okay. So the way these normally work for me is that at any point somebody can ask a question. Anytime, just say, you've got a question? Even right now?
I got a question.
Okay, but 1 second. And that keeps the whole thing moving. I can obviously talk about harmony, I can talk about rhythm, I can talk about melody, and I can talk about Jacob and what I'm all about. So I'll give you a chance to speak in a second.
Ok, perfecto. Lo que él dice es que pueden interrumpir haciendo una pregunta cuando quieran. Eso hace que la cosa fluya. Él va a hablar de armonía, va a hablar de ritmo, puede hablar de Jacob. Así que eso. Y ya había una pregunta y dijo que esperemos un poquito.
So harmony, rhythm, melody, life, touring, the one-man show and how it works, learning, the process of learning and education and how to do it, and like anything you like. Any question is welcome. All questions are welcome. So just ask.
Pueden preguntar acerca de lo que quieran. Armonía, ritmo, el proceso de aprendizaje, cómo es la vida de tour, cómo es el one-man show, cómo funciona, lo que quieran.
Starting now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, you were first, man. Give it to it.
Wait, I actually have...
Pero preguntar en español y yo traduzco, por favor.
Bueno, dale.
Sí, ya sé, pero sí, todos intentan.
Sí, lo voy a hacer.
Ah, gracias.
Sí.
Ay, si querés traducirte solo.
¿Puedo hacerlo?
Dale, claro.
Okay. I actually can't translate myself, so...
Oh, cool.
You would rather... I have like 4 or 5 questions. Would you like me to do it like
Let's
one?
start with one, and then later on I'll come back at this time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the first one that I have, at first or at some moment of your life, did you ever mix your own music and master it, or you only compose it? Cuando haces tu música, ¿la mezclabas también y la masterizabas, o lo hacías? In any point you did it, I assume you don't do it now, but if you ever did it, how, and if that was part of your creative process?
Great. Yeah. So. Yeah.
¿Todos escucharon lo que preguntó? ¿No? Ok, si mezclaba y masterizaba la música de él mismo o no era parte del proceso, ¿verdad?
So I do. I mix, and I don't master, but mixing I do. And mixing is very, very important to me. So I have a room in my house, my room. Yeah. And so I've always made music in this room, and for me, I guess my process of learning involved mixing at a very early age, because when I was 7, I had access to a computer with Cubase. Right. Do you guys know Cubase?
Yes.
Okay.
Entonces él hace el proceso de mezcla desde muy chico, tenía un Cubase y desde los 7 años, a partir de ahí empezó el proceso de mezcla. Y bueno, lo usa como parte de su proceso.
Yeah, and so Cubase is like Logic or Ableton or whatever. It's a way of recording music. So, you know, I had a voice, and I still have a voice, but I had a voice, and I had a little MIDI keyboard and some percussion and a piano and a microphone. And so my first experience of making the kind of music that I make right now was, you know, listening to a song like Stevie Wonder, and then I'm thinking, well, okay, so there's drums, and the drums are going like, how does he do it? Like, can I work it out? And then I play it on the keyboard, like, you know, and recording that, and then gradually, you know, as you record these things, you record the drums and the bass and things like that. I couldn't play bass when I was 7, but I could sing a bass line, you know. So, you know, drums and bass and these different elements, I guess I had internalized them. And when I started to record them, mixing was inevitable because you think, well, you know, if I have a note in the bass line that's the most important note of all the notes, you know, like the way you make that louder is you make it louder. So yeah, I began to craft the dynamics. So it's a lot of you to translate.
Ok, voy. Entonces él tenía en su casa, él siempre tiene una habitación, así empezó, entonces empezó a mezclar y a secuenciar con Cubase ahí. Él tenía un MIDI keyboard, tenía una voz, y entonces escuchaba temas, por ejemplo, de Stevie Wonder o de Stevie Wonder, y lo que hacía era, bueno, a ver cómo va la batería, entonces ahí la secuenciaba, y ahí hizo un beatbox tremendo, y después, claro, después también una línea de bajo, y entonces sacaba la línea de bajo también, y bueno, y lo iba haciendo poco a poco, ¿no? Y el proceso de mezcla es inevitable, porque yo quiero, por ejemplo, te doy un ejemplo, la línea de bajo, cuando la quería acentuar, la podía dibujar con nodos en el mismo Cubase. Entonces, bueno, eso es un poco un resumen, ¿no?
Hey, nice. I'm just loading up. This is my computer. I'm loading up. This is the logic session for you and I. I just want to show you how the mixing, because it's very, very fun. It's like, you know.
Esta es la sesión de Logic de You and I, del tema You and I, y nos quiere mostrar un poco cómo funciona y cómo se ve.
So in this arrangement there are, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you see that? Okay. So every single one of the blue things is one audio file, and so you know, as you can see at the end, like when it gets to this bit here, like. It's like there's like 50 voices, you know.
En ese momento hay como 50 voces, ¿no? Lo que escuchamos recién.
And just to show you, if I zoom in enough, there you go. So all of the yellow lines you see here, that's all volume.
Todas las líneas amarillas son de volumen.
So this here, so there are lots of tracks. There's about 60 tracks.
60 tracks.
You put the tracks into groups, and then this is the yellow lines are the automation of each individual track, and then this is the automation of the group track. So
entonces agrupa los canales y edita el grupo y las líneas, las tracks individuales.
Yeah. So there's like 20 tracks in the old little things, and there's one track where it goes, you know, because you have to sculpt normally around the melody. If the melody can't be heard, then if something's in the way, it's very important to learn how to craft things, just so you guys can see.
Entonces, si hay algo en el lugar de la melodía y la melodía no se escucha, hay que mezclarlo, hay que poner la línea correspondiente como para que se escuche la melodía y lo otro baje.
Yeah. So these are very individual tracks, and then this is the automation of this group, and obviously there's lots more groups and there's other things. You can automate anything in Logic. You can automate volume or panning or.
Puede automatizar volumen, paneo y mil de cosas más.
So it's a very, very important part of the process because, you know, like for example in Hideaway, which I can show you as well, there's 350 tracks.
En Hideaway hay 350 tracks.
And you can't have 350 tracks at one volume.
Claro, no podemos tener los 350 a un mismo volumen.
So it's very, very important to learn what's more important than other things. So you know how in painting you have foreground and background, you have light and shade and these kinds of things.
Bien, en pintura tenemos sombra y luz, tenemos lo que está atrás y lo que está adelante, ¿no? El background y lo que está adelante.
Yeah, it's like it's adding a dimension because, you know, if you think about music as being a flat surface, then that has informational value, you know, it's a thing. But the moment you go like this, you know, with dynamics, some things are louder, some things are quieter, some things are in the foreground, and there are these shifting of things, something.
Perfecto. Lo que hace es agregarle dimensión, ¿no? Podemos tener una sola una sola línea en un cuadro, pero en cuanto empezamos a agregar la dimensión y a movernos, y hacer así, es otra cosa.
So it's like if music's like this, it's in one dimension, or well, I guess two dimensions. And then if it's like this, with dynamics, it's in three dimensions. And now there are more dimensions as well, but those are very important.
Agregando dinámicas, generamos como una tercera dimensión.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, mixing is absolutely essential. Mastering is different because mastering is when you have a mix and then you go into a studio and make it sound sparkly and you focus on frequency bands and you focus on balancing it all out. And for me, I've never learned how to focus on that so much. I've more focused on getting everything to be the right volume. And Ben Bloomberg, the guy with whom I built the harmonizer and the one-man show, he has an amazing ears for frequencies and stuff. So Ben and I sat in a room for a couple of days in Los Angeles after I finished my album. We mastered it together there in the studio.
Bien. El mastering entonces es diferente. El mastering es una vez que tenés la mezcla y lo llevas al estudio y haces que todo suene un poquito más brillante y mezclas un poco los tracks. Y él dice que no tuvo del todo ese tipo de formación como para hacer ese tipo de trabajo. Entonces sí lo hizo el último. Your last record, you mastered it with, can you say the name again?
Yeah, Ben Bloomberg.
Ben Bloomberg,
Yeah.
que es la misma persona que diseñó el
He made
vocoder.
he made the harmonizer and
el
the one-man
harmonizer,
show.
y el One Man Show es el
Yeah.
que ayudó a diseñar y él masterizó junto con él.
Yeah. One more thing it would be fun to show you. If we had a screen, then it'd be easier to see this. But so this is Hideaway, but each one of these tracks is about 20 tracks. So,
Este es Hideaway. Cada uno de esos tracks en realidad son 20 tracks.
so for example, these. It's quiet. But
Jacob,
Yeah.
we have that one.
oh, we do. Oh, okay. Okay. So, can everybody kind of see? So this is the second verse. So touch me like I never loved.
Es el segundo verso, la segunda estrofa.
Second verse, yeah.
Sí.
Yeah, and this is the verse that all the musicians are like, what's going on in the groove? Because it's
Es el verso donde todos los músicos preguntan, che, ¿qué pasa con el groove acá? ¿Cómo es?
and so the metronome is 49 BPM, so super slow.
El metrónomo está en 49 BPM, súper slow.
Yeah, jam session. And basically, the way I did it, as I divided the beat into 5. So
Separó el beat en 5.
So you know how you can have, if I put this on for 1 second, you can have a pulse divided into different numbers, yeah?
Sí.
So
Un pulso se puede dividir en diferentes números.
so like 2, 1, 2,
En dos.
okay, and then yeah, and then so you have all these different there are lots of different ways in which one beat can be divided into different numbers of beats. So there's like
Un beat se puede dividir en diferentes números de beats.
Yeah.
Entonces,
so in one bar, for example, then you have like 1, 2, 3,
entonces en un compás
1, 2. So that's a bar of 4/4. But
4 cuartos.
yeah,
Un
but
compás.
in each beat you can have more beats. So I think it's always better to say, you know, normally when you see it on music, you see a time signature, it's like 4/4, yeah. But for me, there needs to be another number up the top. So like 5/4/4 would be like. But it's still 4/4, you know?
Perfecto. Él dice que al 4 cuartos habrá que agregarle un numerito más arriba, como por ejemplo 5.
Yeah, so I tend to, I don't write out music on paper a lot, but when I do, I think it's important to describe the groove, you know, in terms of numbers. And also, another thing about groove is that sometimes it's wonky, you know, sometimes, like samba, for example, is not like It's like, you know. So the way that samba like rolls like an egg.
Perfecto. Él está explicando, por ejemplo, cómo grubea el samba. Él dice que va rodando como un huevo.
Yeah. But that's because the groove is wonky, you know, it's not straight. Yes. Like that. So it's kind of like you go, you kind of move these two in like that. That's quite instead of it's like and you get this thing. And wonky grooves are just amazing. Let me see if I can. I don't know if I have them on here. No, I don't have it. Oh, no, maybe. Wonky, yeah, like a. Yeah, wonky, yeah. But for example, here's an amazing.
Lo que estaba explicando era que el groove estaba como doblado, wonky.
So this is a wonky groove in 3 divisions. This is from Morocco. This groove is from Morocco.
Este groove es de Marruecos y está dividido en 3 subdivisiones, creo que digo.
Yeah. Super cool. And honestly, if you look at the world and look at your life, it's wonky.
Si ven al mundo y ven a su vida, está doblada, digamos, wonky.
Yeah, it's wonky. So
¿Alguien tiene una mejor traducción de wonky?
Es como
Trunca, irregular.
it's crooked. Yeah, it's weird.
Doblada.
It's weird. It's like it's wavy like this. It doesn't. Life does not do that, right? Life does this. Yeah. So music for me is very important that you also let music do that if it needs to. And in a similar way to actually the piano is not in tune. Did you guys know this? Yeah. Oh, that's great. So,
Lo que decía que la vida no va derecho, va como siempre doblando, ¿no?
So if you have a major chord like this is F major, yeah?
Eso, Fa mayor.
And so there's a U, F, C, and A. Okay.
Tenemos Fa, Do, La.
Yeah. But on the piano, because all of the semitones are exactly the same size, there are lots of chords that don't sound as. It's okay, thanks, James. That there are lots of chords that don't sound as good as they naturally sound. Have you guys ever done this? Have you ever done that? Yeah. So harmonics here is. You hear the harmonics going on? So in every single note there are harmonics, and if you tune the major third to the harmonic series, it sounds super good. But on the piano, slightly wrong.
Entonces, como todos los semitonos son iguales, no tenemos la afinación natural de los armónicos. Eso está diciendo. Entonces, si afinamos la tercera mayor como la afinación natural, suena súper cool.
What was I saying? Yeah, so I was being really silly. So for example, here's here's the thing. So one semitone, right, traditionally is divided into cents. Do you guys know about cents?
Un semitono está dividido en centésimos.
Yeah, so it's like 100th of a semitone. Yeah, and I've recently got really into microtones, microtonal stuff.
Está con los microtonos investigando.
Yeah, and so there's just so many interesting harmonies you can get when you start using microtones in music. You don't have to, but it's good to know how a major chord sounds. So, sorry, do you
Okay, está buenísimo empezar a usar microtonos y es muy interesante saber cómo el acorde mayor funciona.
So, for example, on the piano, the major third A, this is F major, and the A is 14 cents too sharp. Okay.
La tercera mayor en el piano de Fa a La está 14 centésimas sostenido,
too
más
high.
arriba.
Yeah. And so this is right. But if I sing, maybe that's fine. So this is this one, and then if I sing. That's how out of tune the piano is. It's insane. So,
Está desafinado el piano.
so
Sorry.
so anyway, so as far as tuning is concerned, I guess my point is that humans love to do this thing where they make everything the same, rigid and organized and in a straight line. It's not the way it is, right? So I go for it.
A los seres humanos nos encanta hacer todo perfecto, así como súper sin errores, y no es así como es en la realidad.
Yeah. So tuning wise, I'll come to you in 1 second. Tuning wise, notes in chords. If you tune every semitone the same size, it doesn't sound that good. Well, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound as good. In the same way, if you make all the beats the same size, it doesn't feel good, right?
Perfecto. Si hacemos todos los beats de la misma forma, así como todos los semitonos están divididos de partes iguales, no suena igual de bien.
Yeah. So I guess my point is, first of all, musically, it's nice to bend things around, and I'll show you the hideaway groove in just a second. But also in a human way, in life, it's good to let yourself be wavy, because really it's the way the world is. You can't control everything in straight lines. It doesn't work.
No podemos controlar todo en líneas derechas, ¿no? Entonces está bueno doblarlas, ¿sí? Así como es como funciona en la vida, y la música también.
Yeah, definitely. There was a question here.
Yeah, I was wondering, with all this wonkiness thing and the irregular thing with the rhythm and all that, I guess it's a silly question, but I think you would not use metronome while recording multi-track things like in Savior, for example, in which it has that feeling like an egg walking, and how do you manage to do all that thing multi-tracking without a metronome feeling that wonkiness?
In time.
In
Yeah,
term-
interesting. So
La
actually,
pregunta es acerca del metrónomo,
Sí.
si usa, cómo hace para que esto esté de manera irregular, sin usar metrónomo debe ser difícil, si usa, no usa.
so I do use a metronome for recording Savior, but the metronome's not going. So Savior, but the metronome's not going. Yeah, or to be like. It's really annoying, but this is fine.
El metrónomo está ahí,
Yeah. So 80, metronome is 80 for Savior. But
80.
between your 80 and 80, between that, it's like all sorts of stuff can happen, But this is solid. And if there was no metronome at all, then it's fine, Like for example, all of the, the I harm you melodies that I harmonize, like that's never a metronome because people go all over the place. But for Savior and normally for recording, I work to a click because you can see it visually on Logic, the lines, and it just helps line things up because if you line everything up and it works, then it feels really good if it gets it in the pocket. So I think it's very important to take that statement about wonkiness, like not very, very literally. Like for example, like I wouldn't give all of my money away and sell my house and be like wavy, I wouldn't do that. But maybe my mind would find other solutions to problems that aren't to do with being like this is right and this is wrong. There's a boundary there, but click is important. But between the click, then you can be flexible. It's a lot to do with the balance of finding the regimen and what you can use, like a restraint, an area, and then the freedom within that area. Like that, if you find the right balance, then it's totally fantastic.
Ok, él está hablando de encontrar un balance entre usar metrónomo y que el metrónomo no sea demasiado subdividido. Entonces él estaba diciendo que, por ejemplo, usaba un metrónomo en 80 y dentro de eso iban pasando un montón de cosas, ¿no? Él dice que está buenísimo, por ejemplo, hizo una analogía, dice, no voy a vender mi casa y tengo la plata, y digo, uy, sí, soy súper libre. No, está bueno poder tener el metrónomo como guía, porque eso hace que las cosas se sientan súper grooveadas y in the pocket, uso como esa expresión. Y bueno, es eso, es encontrar el balance entre usar metrónomo y la subdivisión y el fluir dentro de eso.
Okay, I want to show you a groove that is wonky, but also straight. So this is close to you, right?
Okay, esto es close to you.
And so the interesting thing about this is that, so 70, right? And I was in a phase in my life where I got super into like wonky grooves, you know, like, or like, you know, like people like D'Angelo and Jay Dilla and Iris Coyote, these guys.
Okay, entonces estaba en una, esto es close to you, right?
Yeah.
Y estaba en una etapa escuchando mucho a Jay Dilla y a D'Angelo y un montón de grooves que son wonky.
Yeah. So it's like this Moroccan groove I showed you, but it's like a hip hop version of that because it's like, and then they go like this. And everyone's like, you know, all of the musicians go like, oh, this is really cool.
Entonces es como esa música de Marruecos que hemos escuchado antes, pero en una versión hip hop.
And so I wanted to find a way of understanding this. So there are different ways in which you can do it. One of them is you divide a beat into 5, as I was saying, and you go tack 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 tack. Okay? Another one is you divide it into 7, and you have. You know, and then there's straight. You know, so there's kind of like there's a margin you can move the beat a variety of different distances.
Perfecto. Entonces tenemos subdivisión en 5, 7
Yeah.
y straight, que es derecho.
Yeah.
En 4.
Yeah, there are lots of other ways you can do it. You can do 9, 11, 13, and stuff like that. But honestly, for the purpose of this exercise, I want to focus on 5 and 7 to show you how this groove works. Question.
Sorry, but for instance, if you have the subdivision in 5, where is the bass drum and where is the snare drum? When you sing it, when you...
So it's like...
Por ejemplo, cuando la subdivisión es 5, ¿dónde está el bombo y dónde está el tacho del tambor?
It's okay. Yeah, so it's like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. Yeah?
So where's the hi-hat?
So the hi-hat is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it's on the 4th. Or in 7 it's... Yeah? So it's like 3, 2... Or yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
3-2 el hi-hat o 4-3.
But it gets interesting though because you can move different parts of the groove can be doing different things because if everybody does the same thing in a groove, you know. So say it was like say your groove was like. If the bass was going like that's already taken. The kick drum's doing that already, you know? So that doesn't add anything to the groove because it's just in unison with a part of the groove that already exists.
Perfecto, entonces si la batería está haciendo eso y el bajo hace exactamente lo mismo que está haciendo el bombo, entonces no está añadiendo nada diferente al grupo, entonces se queda ahí.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting to think about the fact that, you know, it's not that the bass needs to do something totally different, like, you know, like filling all the gaps. But if it sometimes does different things, then it's really interesting. And this can happen on a big scale, and it can happen in a very minute scale. So, for example, in salsa music, the groove is wonky. It's sometimes it's like this, and if the bass is going. Then actually, having zoomed into salsa a little bit, the bass is going like it's like triplets. But the rest of the groove is going. So it's actually like. It's not quite. They're just apart. And the fact that that's slightly different makes the groove move onwards instead of just standing still, you know.
Bien, lo que está explicando es un poco el groove de salsa, que el bajo va como en tresillos. Y esa pequeña diferencia con el groove que va haciendo la percu hace que todo se mueva y se queda wonky.
Question.
When you have a wonky group, it's always measured into something like 5 or 7 or 9 or 11. It's never like there in some place that is not measured.
Yeah, great question. Yeah.
Siempre cuando un ritmo o cuando un grupo es wonky, ¿está medido en 5, en 7, en 9 o en algo? ¿O a veces que no está medido?
So, no, it can be anywhere. You don't have to put in a number. You don't have to say, that's 7 or that's 5. It can just be there. That's fine. And also, sometimes, in all the best grooves, it's never exact. You know, there are lots of discrepancies happening in the groove. And so, I watched interviews with Questlove, you know Questlove, the drummer, for D'Angelo, because D'Angelo really wanted to do this thing. There's an album called Voodoo. Do you guys know Voodoo? So
Voodoo de D'Angelo, estaba hablando con Questlove acerca de los grooves.
Yeah, and so
D'Angelo.
Questlove, I wanted Questlove to say like, okay man, so it's 5 divisions, but actually he just said like, D'Angelo told me to play drunk.
D'Angelo me dijo que toque borracho. Esa fue la descripción del baterista.
Yeah.
Cuando no, están 5, están 7. No es exacto siempre, no. Tiene que estar, a veces tiene que estar ahí. Y dijo que los mejores grooves a veces suceden cuando no es exacto, cuando hay discrepancias entre las pequeñas subdivisiones.
Yeah. Does that make sense? So it's more about the feeling of it being like that rather than knowing it's exactly the numbers. But this is when I was 17 or 18 and I wanted to understand everything. And there's always a time in a musician's life when they want to understand everything and put labels on things. And so I did all sorts of like super, ultra, hyper, mega, meta, linear and all this crazy stuff. But honestly, like the only thing that really matters is how it feels. So if it feels wonky, it feels wonky. If it feels straight, it feels straight. And I have always wanted to study emotionally why. Like why does it feel so good there and not quite so good here? And so for me, it's to do with finding, again, the balance between the left brain, which does organization, and the right brain, which just feels everything, you know? And if there's a good marriage between these two parts of your brain, then you're strong. You're in a strong, balanced position as a creative person.
Ok, buenísimo. Tiene que ser acerca del sentimiento, de cómo se siente el grupo. Él dice que estaba en una etapa cuando tenía 17, 18 años que quería aprender todo y entonces necesitaba entender por qué se sentía tan bien, si estaban 5, si estaban 7, y le ponían nombres locos a los modos como super, locrio, mixolidio, aumentado y estaba buenísimo. Pero que está buenísimo poder hacer un balance entre la parte izquierda y la parte derecha del cerebro y que si tienen un buen matrimonio entre todo lo intelectual y todo lo que tiene que ver con la parte de sentimientos y de feeling, está buenísimo.
Totally. Question.
So, this is a little bit more an insight in regards to negative harmony.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you were saying that if compared to the CG axis of turning still stuff up, taking a D major to turn into a B flat minor, right? What, like, could you give me a little bit more example of, like, for example, F major, as in would be like the same distance to C that is G, G minor.
Yeah.
That would be like the equivalent. I just want to get more insight, and so
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah, that makes sense. Let me do this first, the groove thing first, and then I'll come back to that because that's a great question.
Ok, pregunta de armonía negativa para después. Ahora groove.
Okay, so this is the close to groove. So the first thing I started with this groove was this. This is white noise, sleigh bells, tinkly bells, my keys, all sorts of shit. Yeah, let's go there. Okay. So I thought, like, where can I put the hi-hat? You know, I want this to be super swinging. So I sat down, it was like 2 p.m.
Ok, eran las 2 de la mañana y quería ver. 2 p.m., 2 de la tarde, ok.
And I thought, where do I put the hi-hat? Like, I thought, well, surely it would be wonky, right? Wonky's great. We always want to do wonky. And then, So I tried it. I tried the 5, I tried the 7. So this is the 5. And then there's there. That. Yeah. I thought, that's pretty good. That's pretty funky. And I thought, well, let's try 7 because, 7 is the other one. And so 7 sounds like...
Hi-hat con su división en 7, recién escuchamos el de 5.
7 is Yep. Similar, very similar, yeah?
Parecido.
Yeah. But slightly steeper. There's a tap, 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 tap. Yeah, with yeah, or yeah, slightly different. And so I thought, yeah, sounds pretty funky, it's pretty good. And then I thought, well, you know what? There are other things going on in this groove. There's the bass,
Bien.
and there's the synth.
Ok, está el bajo y está el sinte también en
Yeah.
este groove.
So I thought, well, there are other things that I need to use in this groove to make time. It's not just the drum kit, there's also the bass. So I thought, okay, I've tried that there. Now I'm going to try the bass. I'm going to try different things with the bass. And so I tried 5 with the bass.
5 con el bajo.
Well, it's pretty groovy, it's pretty cool. And then let me see. Then I tried 7. Yeah. Well, that's pretty happening because it's slow. And because it's slow, it's going to be steep. So this is a really steep 7. I thought I like the bass. So I thought, well, what would happen if I put the bass with 7 and the hi-hat and 7 together? Because that's.
Ahora el bajo y el hi-hat en 7 los dos.
I thought like that's pretty legit. Like 7 in both. Yeah. And I thought like, there's something about this that doesn't feel right. Everything on paper is swinging, it's great, it's wonky, everyone's going to love it. But it's not this. There was a tension missing. I thought there was a tension missing in the groove.
Está buenísimo, dice que esto, los 2 en 7, todo suena buenísimo y bien, pero falta tensión. Es como que está todo bien en los papeles, está wonky, sí, pero le falta algo.
So I thought, I'll try something very strange. I thought, I'll try the hi-hat straight. Yeah? So the hi-hat straight, and then the bass can be funky against the hi-hat. So you hear... I thought maybe that would have the tension, and believe it or not...
Hi-hat derecho y el bajo wonky.
Yeah. I thought, that's it, I got it. Yeah? So I was really surprised because no one ever said like straight is funky. People said wonky is funky. But what I realized is that it's very important to have things to fight against, Because if everything's just going in unison like this, it has a limited amount of funk. But if things are like this, same as your life. Again, it's the same as your life. Things are like this. Things are going to groove real hard. If things are like this, there's no groove. There's no groove there, and there's limited groove here. But this is where the pocket is. The pocket is just on the edge of the groove.
Perfecto. Ok, entonces cuando el groove está perfecto, es lo mismo que en tu vida. O sea, tiene que estar un poco desalineado. Si está totalmente desalineado, no hay groove. Entonces, la expresión in the pocket tiene que ver con eso, con estar siempre en el borde del groove.
And just to show you the other things in the groove, there's this. cleared that one up. And then I sang every single note. I also sang. Breaths and stuff. See all of the blue audio files on here. And then so everything together is like this great big mess of just like. Sorry, the bass is actually, I did something, it was a different take of bass which I used, which is with the skip note.
Oh, you know that.
That's great. Question.
En español.
Dale.
¿El drum kit, la batería está tocada o está programada?
The drum kit is, you played it, or did you like
Oh yeah,
sequenced it?
let me see, I think the hi-hat is real.
El hi-hat es real,
Is real. And the kick and snare,
y bombo y tambor
this is MIDI.
es MIDI.
But the claps are real.
Y las palmas son reales.
Because I have no kick drum that sounds like that. Yeah.
One question related with that. Do you actually design the group with MIDI and then you take it to audio, or you maybe do it on audio?
Diseñás el groove con MIDI y después le pasas a audio o audio directo.
In general, yeah.
You use MIDI or you mainly use audio to compose?
To compose, yeah. It depends. I always use audio to record. Like in the end, I always make it out of real instruments,
Yeah, yeah.
unless there's a drum sound or something I can't get. But
Right.
but for making grooves, MIDI's great because you can just move things so easily. So sometimes I'll make a groove all out of MIDI and then I'll re-record all the instruments with real things. Yeah, yes.
Por ahí para hacer grooves está buenísimo el MIDI porque podemos mover las cositas muy a poquito, pero después siempre termina regrabando en general lo que puede regrabar con audio real.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about Logic, but I don't think it has a grid in like 5 or
No.
kilobytes or 7. What do? Do you make like small bars of, I don't know, 5/16 or 7/16? Or
Yeah.
Acerca de la grilla, estaba preguntando que a veces Logic o los sequencers no tienen grillas que pues, se puedan hacer en 5, entonces ¿cómo hace? Si lo hace un bit grande y lo subdivide en más chiquito, ¿cómo?
Yeah, so Logic sent me an email one time, and they were like, "Yo man, it's really sick. What are you doing, man? You should come check out our headquarters." So I went to the headquarters in San Francisco, and I sat down in the room and I had a list of all these features they didn't have that I needed. Number 1, grooves in odd numbers of divisions, and they said like, "Yeah man, it's super hard. Like you have to divide it." And so I think I might maybe at some point in my life I might make my own DAW. Because I have loads of ideas about this. This is great, but it's just not good enough. Like it's not flexible enough, and I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Dice que se reunió con la gente de Logic en los cuarteles de San Francisco y que le mostraron un montón de cosas de las que él necesitaba, y una de las primeras fue la de subdivisión en bits irregulares, y le dijeron, no, loco, pero lo que pasa es que es muy difícil, porque y bueno, no se pudo, y él dice, vamos a...
Yeah, there are loads of other things, like little bugs I found, and a couple of them they've actually fixed. They put it in like the new updates of Logic, but only like the easy ones, you know. Yeah, it's to do with the fact you have to divide a beat into a certain number of ticks. It's like the limit's like 192 ticks or something, and so if it's not divisible by 192, it's like, you know. So yeah, so 5/16 is good, but normally I just ignore the. You can learn to see where 5 is in the bar, like you know the. That's halfway through. So as long as the middle two are equidistant between the middle, then you're okay. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Ok, mucha matemática para mí, lo que acabo de decir, pero tiene que ver, tienen un problema en Logic con los tics y que no es divisible por la cantidad de que necesita para hacer las subdivisiones más chicas. Y... ok.
la grilla de 5 se ve del medio.
Que sirve el 5/16, dice, que el 5/16avos se podría hacer la subdivisión como para que funcione. Y
If you divide 5 into 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see this on Logic, because Logic does 4.
Okay.
So as long as you can see, you just do it with your eyes, you know, instead of using the...
Ok, perfecto. Cuando subdivís en 5, si Logic está dividiendo en 4, lo podés ver la mitad. Podés encontrarlo fácilmente.
Yeah. So like Hideaway, for example, which I'll show you now, is all you see is this. You don't see anything in between, so you just have to do it by ear. But it's good because it means it's never going to be like that. It's always going to be like this because it's never going to be right, which is great. That's cool.
Y está bueno porque nunca va a estar súper perfecto, sino que va a estar ahí en el medio, así que está bueno.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you start a song when you start to compose? With the rhythm, with the melody, with the harmony, and you can talk about the negative harmonies.
Oh yeah, okay.
How do you start? What do you think first?
¿Cómo arranca una composición? ¿Con ritmo, con armonía, con melodía, con un groove?
It depends all the time. It's different. So for Hideaway, actually often I start with voice memos on iPhone, like because I travel so much at the time that often if I have an idea, I'm not in the room, so I have to record something on my phone. So Hideaway, I remember I was in Cologne in Germany, and it was right in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. and I thought like, I was like, is that taken? Like, has someone done it? No, it's not.
Dice que usualmente usa como notas de voz en el teléfono porque está viajando mucho, y estaba en Alemania a las 3 de la mañana y se le ocurrió la melodía de Hideaway y dijo, che, ¿alguien lo hizo esto? ¿Que ya lo hizo? No.
Yeah. So so I recorded, but when I record voice memos, it's all sorts of things. I said, okay, so take this kind of. I can play you some stuff. So for example, I'm not sure if I can find the original voice memo. That'd be really fun. But I have a feeling it's not going to be here.
Está buscando la nota de voz original, a ver si la encuentra.
But there were different.
No.
Deep holds a world.
So.
Deep holds a world.
Deep beholden world.
And you got double tracked on the C12.
Double track.
Take me
No.
anywhere I want to go.
Yeah.
You know that my love is strong. You're holding on to you.
And so I had the idea, and so Die Beholden World is a reference to this song. There's an amazing song by a friend of mine called Beholden, and it goes like this. Right, just super comforting. Oh, so good. It's just like really comforting. So I wanted to make a whole, but this is in time. I thought I'd take away the time, just have it as a world. And then later in the voice memo, you hear me say, there's a song by Bjork. Do you guys know Bjork?
Yeah.
Yo. This is a Mike Walker.
Mike Walker.
Yeah, Mike Walker and Stuart McCallum.
Ok, esos son los artistas que estábamos escuchando recién, que él utilizó como inspiración para...
Mike Walker was, I think, my greatest ever teacher. I had a few lessons with Mike and he changed my life.
Ok, fue uno de sus mejores teachers. Profesores de guitarra, le cambió la vida.
So this is a song by Bjork which has a thing in it, and I really wanted to try it. Is that cool? It's super good. I thought like. I got a thing, and then the melody I kind of then realised that there's a song by Jimi Hendrix. You guys know Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
Waterfall. Yeah. This is like this is the finishing ingredient.
waterfall. Nothing can harm me at all. My worries seem so very small, but my waterfall.
Anyway, super good, and it was like, you know, Hendrix, Bjork, and Mike Walker. It's this weird recipe, but I love that thing of putting different things together. So in the voice memo, I say like, okay, go into this, and then sometimes it's like, okay, do you have it like in the middle section, do some weird thing, a song G starts to go to C, and then add a C sharp, make that note louder, and all this weird stuff, you know, because I have my own language with speaking. I go super fast, like, and so after that I go home and I take the voice memo, put it in Logic, and I cut it up, and I move all the different sections around, and it's like, okay, then I make a map. I'll go here and here and here, and then you just go, and it just comes out, you know. That was that song anyway, yeah.
Ok, tomó como inspiración estos 3 tracks que estuvimos escuchando recién, y agarró esa nota de voz, la puso en Logic, la fue cortando y la fue armonizando de manera diferente, que él tiene como su propio lenguaje, explicó recién, así que bueno, esa fue un poco la historia de este tema.
One more thing just before I take a couple more questions. So, Saviour, the groove for Saviour is... So this was really a voice memo song because the whole groove is made out of voice memos. The whole groove, except for... It's all voice memos. And this is it. So this is all sorts of shit going on in here, man. There's a...
Okay, este grupo está armado a partir de notas de voz. Es el grupo de Seguime.
And everything's in exactly the right place. Exactly the right place. When you speed that up,
cuando aceleramos esto,
when you speed that groove, because that's 45 BPM.
Esto está en 45 BPM.
And then suddenly it's like, that's the groove. And then that's cool. And then then all we need to do is add. But the whole groove is made out of these sounds. So I walked around a shipyard. I found a shipyard in England on the coast. Oh, that's good. And then I just went home and just put them all in the right place, and really, really slow, and sped it up, and it's just like, and it's super cool. It's super cool.
Okay, dice que se fue, creo que a un depósito de barcos, ¿no? Ship like boat.
Ship, yeah, boat
okay.
yard, yeah.
Entonces en Inglaterra, y empezó a pegar a todas las chapas y a samplearlas, y bueno, así fue generando el grupo.
Yeah, so just the boats going, waving in the wind. Yeah.
Okay, son los botes que se mueven en el viento,
stuff, yeah.
Las velas.
But if you see all the yellow lines, it's like everything's going like. Yeah.
Todas las líneas amarillas son las que van automatizando el volumen, ¿no?
Yeah. Anyway, that's just like that's a couple of songs. Yeah. It always changes. Yeah. A question. Also, I'll come back to the harmony thing in a second. But question.
First, what's the name of the song from Mike Walker?
Oh yeah. So the Mike Walker song is called Beholden. Beholden.
He was your teacher?
Yeah, he gave me a few lessons,
oh, okay.
And I'll share a story from one lesson actually because it's very, very important. So Mike Walker. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Beholden by Mike Walker, and then the Bjork song is called Unravel. Unravel. And the Jimi Hendrix song is called May This Be Love. Yeah, it's from Are You Experienced? It's a really, really cool tune.
Los nombres de las canciones y los artistas.
So Mike Walker was a teacher at the Royal Academy of Music, and I studied there for 2 years as a jazz piano player. I wasn't really there very often, but when I was there, I was like searching for all the best shit in the place, because the jazz course.
Estudió jazz piano en la Royal Academy.
Royal Academy of Music in London. And the jazz, like the harmony class and the jazz course, for me it wasn't very interesting. But what was really interesting was like the rhythm teacher, and the rhythm teacher told me all these wonky stuff, and also the tuning stuff, and negative harmony. You're talking about negative harmony. Amazing guy called Barrett Schmuel, who actually teaches samba. He's a samba teacher.
Entonces, una de las cosas que tomó este profesor es la cuestión del ritmo regular, la cuestión de la afinación y de la armonía negativa.
And I also went to classes with like crazy oral lessons, like oral people for really, really crazy classical music. Like I sat in the class, because they weren't the jazz classes, but I sat in the classes and they did crazy dictation, like, and I had to write it out, you know, like one listen, which is like, that kind of stuff is fun.
Se fue a clases orales que intuyo que es like ear training, como audio perceptivo, de música clásica avanzada, donde dictaban cosas así como súper difíciles y él entrenaba con eso.
Yeah, and you know, the jazz thing was cool, and I played with people, and I never really loved education. It never jived with me. There was a thing. I feel like education tells you that something is right and wrong, and my initial instinct is like, if they say it's right, it's probably wrong. So like you have to. For me, I always tested everything I learned. It's like, okay, they say this chord is good. Well, does it work? Let's try. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But because I went into the academy basically not really reading music and not really knowing anything about jazz, like I just sort of thought like, what should I do as a degree? Like I don't really want to do a degree, but I'll do something. And it was between classical composition or jazz piano. And I thought, well, jazz piano, I'm going to be playing with other people more, and for that reason I did jazz piano, and it was interesting.
Okay, estaba eligiendo una carrera para cursar, entonces estaba entre jazz piano y composición clásica, y bueno, lo que hizo él a través de su proceso en la escuela fue ver de elegir y testear todo lo que le decían. Este acorde está bueno, pero porque lo que no le gusta de la educación es que le digan esto está bien, esto está mal. Él iba testeando un poco todo, y bueno, como que tuvo esa relación con la educación.
Yeah.
Y eligió jazz piano porque dijo, seguramente voy a tocar con más gente, con un montón de gente, así que por eso eligió esa carrera.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say really, but what was the question? The question was about.
You were gonna say
What was your question? Okay, negative harmony is one. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah. So.
You were gonna tell something about your teacher.
Mike Walker. Thank you, man. So Mike was a teacher here, and I had about 2 or 3 lessons with him, and he's an absolutely extraordinary human being, really amazing. And he's very philosophical, and the thing that he gifted me, I think, with is this idea that if you're a teacher, you shouldn't give the students all the answers. You should give them the right questions, and then the tools to find their own answers. Because if a student finds an answer out of their own materials, then that answer belongs to them. And if a student receives a fully fledged answer that's all speckled and lovely, then that never belongs to them until they've tested it. And so for me, Mike, like I asked him this question, or I'll let you translate for a second, but I asked him a question and he did this for me.
Okay, tomó 2 o 3 clases con Mike Turner.
Mike Walker.
Mike Walker.
Yeah.
Mike Walker. Y era un profesor súper filosófico, y lo que le explicaba era que está bueno que un profesor, o que el rol del profesor sea proveer de las preguntas necesarias y justas, y no dar todas las respuestas. Si te dan las respuestas ya de una, entonces vos las tenés que ir a probar, y si uno, de acuerdo a las preguntas que le dan, encuentra sus propias respuestas, tiene otro valor.
So I said to Mike, Mike, can you say something about melody? Because you know, I've always been good at harmony and I've always been good at rhythm, but melody was something I found more difficult because you can't manifest it. You know, melody has to be simple, it has to sing, and it has to just be itself. And for me, I was really good at going like, or manifesting stuff, but just singing a melody, especially with composing, just leaving it there, was something I didn't know as much about. So I said to Mike, well, what can you say about melody? And so, do you want to translate that?
Entonces, él dice que era como súper bueno en armonía, pero necesitaba un consejo acerca de melodía, entonces le preguntó, Mike, ¿qué me decís acerca de la melodía? ¿Qué consejo me puedes dar?
Yeah, and so Mike said, Jacob, play me a melody. So I played him a melody, and it was all right, you know, it was like, fairly ordinary melody, something like that. And so it was like, it didn't really have any rhythm, didn't really have any form, but it was fine. And he just, I played the melody and he just said like, Jacob, that's great, okay? And he waited a second for me to make my own judgment. And then he said, okay, Jacob, sing me a melody. Sing me a melody. So I sang him a melody, and by singing it, not playing it, by singing it, it made it have a lot more form. It had this energy, and it had a sense of shape, because when you sing something, often it comes straight from your melodic space, whereas if you play something, it can go straight from your head, you know. And then he left it for a second again, and then he said, Jacob, imagine there's a girl singing a melody in your ear, and just listen to the melody and then sing it back to me. Right? So I sat for a moment and imagined a girl, you know, and singing a melody into my ear, and I sang it back to him, and it had all this rhyme in it. It was like, you know, it had this form, or whatever it was, like something that had a structure, like it had a question and an answer, and I couldn't believe it. It was like, what is coming out of my mouth? And so he said, sing melody. So I sang that melody, and then he said, Jacob, I don't need to tell you anything more about melody. That's the end of the lesson.
Ok, entonces lo que hizo fue, el profesor le dijo, bueno, Jacob, tocame una melodía. Entonces él tocó una melodía en el piano y entonces, bueno, fue una melodía que quizás no tenía demasiada estructura y demás. Entonces le dijo, ok, y esperó un cacho para que él hiciera su propio análisis de eso. Y entonces, acto seguido, le dijo, bueno, ahora cantamos una melodía. Y entonces él dice que muchas veces cuando uno toca una melodía viene como una parte súper intelectual, pero cuando la cantás viene desde otro lugar. Entonces, de repente salió con una forma distinta y con una estructura diferente. Y entonces le dijo, bueno, buenísimo, ahora imagínate que hay una chica cantándote una melodía acá. Y cantó una melodía. Entonces, bueno, ahí cantó una melodía increíble con una estructura como motivo A, motivo B, pregunta-respuesta. Y entonces le dijo, bueno, acá está la clase de melodía. No hay más nada para decir.
Yeah, so that, for me that was an amazing lesson, because he didn't give me the answer to my question, right? He didn't tell me how to make better melodies. He enabled me to find my own solution, and that solution is, sometimes it's like let the shit come out first, and then later you'll find the pure thing. And also, if you enable like another character to be present in the creative process, this is another thing that's been helpful for me actually with songwriting, is if you imagine two characters, instead of one character just sort of monologuing like, I feel this, and I feel that, and if you imagine there's two people, and I'm speaking to somebody like, you make me feel like this, or why do you do this, and they reply, there's this amazing interaction, and it feels like there's a meaning that there isn't if I just stand and say how I feel, you know. So instead of having another character in the room, he kind of enabled that to form in my head by imagining this chica, you know, and then having this melody appear, but it's not, what didn't come from me. It came from somewhere else, you know.
Okay, entonces en la composición dice que le ayudó un montón este efecto de crear como otro personaje, ¿no? Donde hay un diálogo y no él está solo dando un monólogo y cantando, ¿no? Entonces que le dejó encontrar su propia respuesta a esta situación de duda ante la melodía.
Absolutely. Questions abound. So I'd like to, how much time do we have left, by the way? 4 hours. Nice. 1 more hour? Sweet. Super, that sounds great. So I'll definitely do a little bit of harmony. I'll do 10 minutes on harmony for all of you. Harmony. Anyone a fan of harmony? Is you guys like harmony? Okay, nice. Oh yeah. So I'll do some harmony in a second, but maybe a couple more questions before then. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you chose jazz piano over classical composition. Have you studied classical piano before, or apart from that, or classical composition on your own, maybe?
No, I haven't.
¿Estudiaste piano clásico? No.
No, very concise. Yeah, so just briefly about how I learned music. I never really had lessons on any instruments until I was about 16. I started going to this jazz camp on piano, and you know, literally all I could play these chords. I could play like and stuff like this, but I couldn't go like. I couldn't do anything like that. There's a reverb on it. No, it's fine. I couldn't do it. Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, I could because I could only use 3 fingers because I was just so I could, you know, I could make out things, but I could play all these chords because I love chords and I understood chords. But I went to have this jazz camp and they were like, okay, we're going to play Autumn Leaves. And I was like, what do I do over this? And so I went like, and gradually, like I had one lesson with a teacher who said, you know, you should practice scales. And I said, oh, no. And it's like, no, I'm serious. Like, check it out. Scales are great because they make you use all 5 fingers. I was like, I don't use 5 fingers, like 3 is fine. And anyway, I did practice scales and I did, you know, this thing. And it was completely foreign to me, but I did it for 3 months and then I gave up. But then I began to use my other fingers more. And so gradually, like I got better at playing jazz but I never studied classical piano. The only thing I studied as a kid was classical singing. So I learned how to sing classically as a boy treble, and I sang in operas. That was my first performing experience was singing in operas, and that was classical music. So that's probably enough for you to translate.
Ok, entonces nunca tuvo un entrenamiento clásico formal y dice que fue a un jazz camp cuando tenía 16 y que le encantaban los acordes, entonces tocaba unos acordes tremendos, pero cuando venía la parte de improvisar solo usaba 3 dedos y entonces no tocaba demasiadas melodías y que tocaron Autumn Leaves y que de repente, bueno, viene la parte del solo y ¿qué hago? Entonces tocó unos acordes buenísimos y lo agarró un profesor y le dijo, che, ¿por qué no te practicás un poco de escalas? Así usas los 5 dedos y dice, usar los 5 dedos, yo uso 3. Bueno, y entonces estuvo durante 3 meses tocando ejercicios de escalas como Hanan, el Anon, y después se cansó de eso y bueno, y después sí habló un poco de su entrenamiento vocal, que sí cantó en óperas y era soprano masculino.
Treble
okay,
alto, voice singer.
Alto,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Perfecto, y tuvo ese entrenamiento también.
It's just no, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so as a boy I sang it in operas. I did an opera by Mozart called The Magic Flute. There were 3 little boys and they were saying, so I did that.
Hizo una ópera de Mozart que se llamaba Las 3.
Little boys, yeah. And then really, really crucially for me, there was opera by a man named Benjamin Britten. Do you guys know Benjamin Britten?
Yes.
Sweet. So Benjamin Britten is a classical composer from England, across the 20th century, and he has written some of the most amazing classical music ever. And there's this one opera he wrote called The Turn of the Screw, which is a horror story by Henry James. And
Benjamin Britten escribió una ópera que se llama It's called
The Turn of the Screw. The Turn of the Screw.
The Turn of the okay. La vuelta del tornillo, que es como un cuento de terror de Henry James.
Henry James horror story. So I was cast as one of the little boys. It's one of the most commonly done as a boy treble. It's one of the things that you do if you're good. You sing in miles in The Turn of the Screw. So I did this in 3 different productions, and my brain as a kid was quite interesting, and it was like a sponge. So I memorized the whole opera. I knew every single note of that opera. I could write it out from memory, you know. And the harmony in it is insane. Like the stuff the kind of harmony he was doing. There's this one bit where he goes, there's this 12-tone row, and it's like all the strings doing pizzicato, and it goes like. And all these notes are happening at the same time, and it's at the beginning of the opera, and it's, in my experience in my life, it's the most exciting musical moment I've ever experienced, hands down.
Ok, recién estaba explicando un momento dodecafónico de la obra que hace una serie de 12 notas, en donde están esas 12 notas sonando al mismo tiempo y que es el momento más maravilloso, y que dice que de chico se había aprendido toda la ópera nota por nota, que era como una esponja, y bueno.
So his harmony, like the way he uses harmony is very English actually, but it's takes from all sorts of interesting spaces and places, and for me it was just like, you know, because it was the same time as I was getting into like Earth, Wind and Fire, and you know, stuff like that, so it was like, and then Jacob Collier was born, you know.
Era la misma época que estaba escuchando Earth, Wind and Fire y mezclado con esos grooves, mezclado con esta armonía, así nació Jacob Collier.
But you know, so I performed in this opera, and so I had the experience of standing on a stage in front of people, but I wasn't being myself; I was being the character. So it's obviously much. Well, some people would say it's much easier to be a character than to be yourself in front of people, right? Because for being yourself, you have to be vulnerable and open and honest, and it's tough to, scary, you know, to be yourself in front of people. So at that age, I was Miles, I was this other character, and man, I could go on and on and on about different experiences singing an opera. I'll tell you one really quick story.
Okay.
Sorry about it. Go for it. What did I say?
Dijo que de chico, bueno, representaba un personaje y que muchas veces es considerado un poco más fácil representar un personaje que es ser uno mismo, porque da mucho más miedo ser como honesto y cristalino y vulnerable, ¿no? Entonces, bueno, que fue una gran experiencia de chico.
Yeah. So normally when directors work with a cast, they make all of the people in the cast stand and move around. It's like, okay, we're going to start this scene with you on the left, and you're going to move to the right, and you're going to say, I think this, or something like that, you know, because opera's it's all about theatre. But the second, sorry, do you want to translate that for a sec?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so you were told what to do.
I wasn't told what to do. Normally, you're told what to do by moving around.
Entonces, usualmente en la ópera le dicen qué hacer, le dicen cómo moverse y cómo declamar y demás.
Pero, yeah. But for me, for this one director, the second production I did of this opera, he sat us on chairs. There are 6 people in the cast, so we sat on chairs, and we weren't allowed to stand up from the chairs until the day of the dress rehearsal, the first performance, or maybe like the day before. And he made us go through the whole opera, just sitting down singing. We weren't moving, and for every single line of the opera, every single thing, we had to extract a verb. You know, like an action that would imply. But basically, like, you had to think, what's the intention of that line? And often it would be, you know, to horrify or to scare or something like that. And once we'd extracted the verbs, he made us, just as an exercise, we inverted all of the verbs. Okay? So we inverted all of the intentions of the opera. And so you'd have a horrifying line, but I'd be genuinely charming somebody. I'm totally charming you. You're just being charmed. And what the audience gets there is this like weird undertone of the original intention. Go for it.
Ok, en la segunda producción en la cual hizo la ópera, el director los sentó a los 6 personajes en las sillas y no los dejó moverse y los hizo ir línea por línea de la obra, tratando de extraer el verbo específico, digamos, que representaba el humor de cada frase. Y lo que hicieron fue cambiar ese humor. Entonces, de repente decían una línea súper horrorosa, pero de una manera encantadora. Entonces, ese fue el ejercicio que les hizo el director.
Nice. Yeah. So for me, I was 12 years old at this stage, but for me, it was like crazy shit. This is like amazing because, again, like if you look at your life, look at the way your life is. People don't say what they mean a lot, right? It's very rare someone says like this. And I completely mean that. It's normally like this, but there's also this, and then, but I'm not saying those things. So for me, like having been in a school situation where like I didn't really get people my own age, I didn't really understand them because they didn't think about anything. A lot of people didn't think about it, they just did the school. And for me, like I wasn't that interested in the school unless it was something I was interested in, which case I was like stupendously interested in it. But this idea of inverting intentions was just like crazy for me because it was like, this makes sense, this is how people are. And creatively, I loved the idea that you could say something without saying the exact thing that you mean, and you can still imply the original thing. Like it's like the mixing thing. It's like having this, and then you can do this. It's exactly the same. Emotional intention. You start with, I say what I mean all times, and suddenly it's like, I say what I don't mean, but you feel what I mean, and it's just like, yes, I really like that.
Ok, dice que haber tenido esta experiencia a los 12 años le voló la cabeza porque justamente era decir una cosa e interpretar otra, y eso pasa en la vida muchas veces. La gente dice algo, pero también quiere decir otra cosa. Que hay otra dimensión detrás de eso, y ahí vuelve a la analogía con la mezcla, ¿no? Esta cuestión de varias dimensiones y de varias capas en la música también.
Ah.
Y también habló un poco de su experiencia en la escuela, que no estaba en el mismo plan que el resto de los chicos que solo hacían la educación y era solo eso. Que él, a no ser que estuviera interesado en algo específico, que ahí sí estaba súper ocupado. Pero bueno, creo que eso es todo. Ya.
It's a hard one.
It's a hard,
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Question over here, and then we'll talk about harmony after that. Yeah.
Do you have perfect pitch?
Yes.
¿Tenés oído absoluto? Sí.
I've tried, I mean, because I've got interested in microtones, I've tried to get even more perfect. And so I can sing like between semitones, so like A440, you know, and then A432, you know, that kind of stuff. Like just to be able to get it like in the thing. And for me, it's super exciting to have, because there's no reason why 12 keys should exist. There's loads more keys. You know, so like, oh man, this is one song where I went to G half sharp. I'll really quickly play that, and then that will take us on to harmony. But
Okay, tiene oído absoluto y trata de meterse adentro de la distancia de semitono cada vez más. Recién cantó un La 440 y un La 432, creo. Y que va a mostrar algo que creo que lo grabó en Sol medio sostenido.
So E major, right? Really warm key, really nice. And G major it's bright, but it's more neutral. Okay, this is just for me. So everyone has a different idea of what keys feel like. Traditionally, keys with sharps in the key signature can feel quite upwards brighter, and then keys with flats can feel a bit more dark.
Okay, está hablando de las tonalidades y de cómo se sienten. Las tonalidades que suelen tener sostenidos se sienten un poco más brillantes que las que van para el lado de los bemoles, que son un poco más oscuras.
Yeah, and so this is a Christmas arrangement of. Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, but you mean like absolute A, not relatively with another one. For you, A sounds brighter than G.
It's hard. It's really hard. You know, it's like saying this tastes better than that, or this tastes bright. You can't say something tastes. It's difficult to put it into words because it's more like a texture in your mind. It's like a mind texture. So, yeah.
Entonces, el La, en diferencia al Sol, el más brillante o no, tiene que ver con, es como decir, tiene tal gusto, tiene mejor gusto, que es, en realidad son como texturas diferentes que tiene en la mente.
Yeah, so, you know, like E major properly, like, for me it feels quite guitar-y because guitars are tuned in E, and so it's quite
El mayor se siente como guitarrístico.
Yeah, E is for guitar, and you know, G is...
Soles.
I don't know. No, for me, yeah, G is perhaps more neutral, more stable because, you know, there are fewer sharps and flats in the key signature, so it... Yeah.
Es como más neutral porque no hay tantos sostenidos ni bemoles en la clave.
Yeah, but then there's a difference between, you know, G and G. There's different Gs, you know. So the second G is more mellow maybe, and the first G or like really, like you can move the emotional thing around. I mean, the only reason I'm saying this is just because in my experience, having got to know keys really well across my whole life, it's like if I want to make a slight difference in this key, then you can just lift it. Obviously on the piano you can't do it, but you can do it when you record. You can lift and you can sing just a little bit just by singing that amount lower and that amount higher. You know, obviously as I don't use like auto-tune and things like that, I'm free. I can do whatever I like with tune. So you can put that G in different places. And for my next album, I'm doing all the songs are in different places. You know, there hardly any of them are A440. A couple of them are, but it's like just because you can be more emotional if a key is in a different place. And do you want to translate that for 1 second? I'll show you something. Yeah.
A veces hay diferentes soles, decía, cantó primero un sol y después un sol diferente, y moverse levemente en afinación es lo que te permite que pueda sonar un poquito más suave o Él usó la palabra mellow o un poco más redondo el sonido, así va cambiando la textura levemente. Y como él no usa autotune, dice que es completamente libre y que se va moviendo levemente por las tonalidades. Cantando se puede hacer, con el piano no se puede hacer, pero cantando sí.
Yeah. So I'm sure some of you guys might know this, but Hideaway starts with D at A432A and then ends with up. So the beginning of Hideaway,
El
you've got
principio de
this,
Hideaway empieza en 432.
right? And then at the end,
Y al final,
yeah. Very good. Yeah. So. Yeah. Because it's like, because A432 is indoors, you know, and A440 is outdoors. So it's like you start inside, and then you lift. But no one knows that. I mean, you don't think that. It's just, for me, it's like I wanted to have that extra detail. And if you rewind to the beginning, it feels, why do I want to listen to this again? I feel like I've gone in and I've got to get out again. And just that cycle of being emotional with harmony. Like you can stretch harmony really far. And I've done my best at stretching it as far as it can possibly go in terms of this kind of harmony. And yeah, so for me, moving things between semitones is a really interesting thing to do. So yeah, perfect pitch is useful, but there's more to notes than whatever.
okay, entonces recién explicaba que empieza en 432 y es como que está adentro. Y después cuando termina en 440 es como que sale. Y que hay muchísimo más de la armonía para probar cuando uno empieza a meterse con microtonalmente, ¿no? A cantar.
Just to quickly finish this point, this is a really fun thing. So this is my arrangement of a song called "In the Bleak Midwinter," which is a Christmas song, and there are 4 verses, and the first verse is in.
Hay cuatro estrofas, 4 versos. El primero está en.
Oh, F, it's in F. Yeah.
In the bleak
and so you're in F and it's really nice, and then you're in F of verse 2 as well. So all these voices, there's so many voices. And then verse 3. E. So broad and wonderful, right? It's just like so rich. Then for verse 4, it's like, where can I go that's brighter than E? Well, I got an idea, and I thought, well, it needs to rise. It needs to rise, but it can't rise a major third because that will put me in A flat, and that's like this. You know, and if I go a minor third, it will put me in G, which is it's fine, but it's too neutral. So I thought I'll just put it in the middle. So I thought G half sharp. I'll give it a try. I've always wanted to try to modulate to G half sharp without you realizing, and I got away with it.
Okay, entonces el tercer verso estaba en Mi, que era mucho más brillante y mucho más abierto, y dice, ¿y ahora dónde lo puedo llevar? Si subo una tercera mayor, voy a La bemol, y La bemol es más bien redondo, entonces quería ir a Sol medio sostenido, siempre quise ir a Sol medio sostenido.
So, four magical chords. The way that feels, your G half, this feels fucking amazing. I mean, no one sings it like you, right? so bright anymore, huh? Because you've got this, whoa, like it just doesn't exist. But I wanted to see how far I could push it to try and be as emotional as I could. So like now I've added that key to my radar. You know, I know what it's about. Yeah.
Bien, en un momento volvió a mí y me dice, no se siente igual, siente el llante, pero no es igual. Bueno, fucking amazing, básicamente. ¿No? Eso es lo que dijo.
And just for those like really geeky harmony people out there, like the voice leading to get from there to there is insane, man. It's just like
La evolución de voces para llegar ahí es muy loca.
I didn't use any MIDI to plan this. I just did it by ear. So I had no way of guiding myself, but I know about just intonation. I know about tuning systems. So it's like where it be so, and then it goes. The first chorus, which is D7, 13, flat 9, sharp 11.
Re 7.
And then the second chord, and then the second chord is, which is B major, 7th, over F.
7 mayor con bajo sostenido.
So, and then A minor 11, yeah.
La menor 11.
And then, yeah. So this is a D7 chord and it's going to G major. And so in G major, yeah. So is actually the correct 13th is flatter. So
that was D7.
D7.
Sharp 11. Flat 13.
Flat 9, natural 13.
Natural.
Yeah.
Okay. Era entonces un Re 7 sostenido 11 con bemol 9 y tercera natural.
So this B is flat in the chord, which means that the B can be at A440 and the whole chord can rise, with it still being in tune, with the B still being in tune. The second chord, this is the root of the chord actually, but it's just so. Yeah. So what happens there is because it's the 9th, every 5th that you tune in a just intonation on the piano is 2 cents too small. So actually, this is A minor, and so that's 4 cents sharp. But because the ear is hearing that as a 5th being upwards, you can just stretch it. So I stretched it. I stretched the first one up. And by that time, I'm in another place, you know?
Okay.
So it's very intelligently done. It wasn't a bluff. It was very well calculated. I'm very clever. but just to show you this.
No puedo traducir toda la matemática que dijo. You should. I can't translate all that.
Oh, sorry, no.
Okay, pero explicó básicamente cómo se relacionan las centésimas entre los acordes.
Con la afinación justa.
Y la afinación justa con.
Era el puente, ¿no?
Fue mucho. ¿Alguien lo quiere decir?
Sí, más o menos.
Creo que
if you say it again, just slower, I can just
Yeah,
maybe.
basically there are 4 chords that take you from E to G
Hay
harp.
4 acordes que nos llevan de Mi a Sol sostenido a Sol medio sostenido.
And the way that I get away with it is by using just intonation, like using intonation from the harmonic series and stretching it to my advantage.
Okay, usa la entonación justa de la serie armónica y la estira para su ventaja.
Yeah. Is that cool? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know that? So yeah, so some of the voice leading here is just like insane. That kind of shit. It's quite gnarly. It's quite gnarly, but if you get into it,
Dice que no fue para nada al azar, que fue como una cosa muy nerd, muy calculada.
Let me see if I can find a really juicy one. Yeah. That's a good one. So yeah. So new note, and then another. So it's funny because, like, you know, I'm recording my room and I leave the door open and my family is just like, what is he singing? Like, my mom was like, are you trying to sing in tune? I was like, oh.
Dice que a veces deja la puerta abierta al cuarto y pasa la madre y lo escucha haciendo eso y le dice, pero vos estás tratando de cantar afinado.
No. Anyway, it was worth it because G half sharp is a champion key. It has to be said. And actually, just very quickly for the end, because the end of the song is very reassuring. I went back down, but I did it very cleverly. And then voila. We're in G major again, but back here.
Y al final vuelve a sol después de todo esto.
Again, like, you watch the video, you listen to it, and you don't think like, what's going on with the tuning? You just think like, okay, we're home, we're going home. Because it's really important to not think that the point of this is the crazy technical stuff. It's not. The point of this is the feeling that I get when I give in G half sharp and when I go down to G is absolutely wonderful. And that's why I do it. I'm not trying to prove some technical thing here. I'm just trying to make it feel the way I want it to feel. And
dice que lo importante es volver al sentimiento cuando volvés a sol, se siente como que volvió a casa. Y que lo importante no es toda la cosa técnica que hizo en el medio, sino ese sentimiento de haber subido a sol medio sostenido y después volver a casa, al retorno a sol.
Yeah. So it's very important, just as the last point, it's very important to make that clear because I think a lot of people, like when the negative harmony video went out, everyone was like, whoa, this guy's crazy, and it's funny because when I was a kid, I wasn't the virtuoso kid. I was the kid who had all the ears, but I didn't have any chops at all, no chops. Poor Jacob.
Entonces cuando era chico tenía mucha oreja, pero no era como un virtuoso, no tenía chops, era como pobre Jacob.
Yeah, so I couldn't, I could hear everything, I could hear the harmonies, but I couldn't play the stuff because having not studied classical music and stuff, I just didn't have the technique. So still to this day, my technique is very patchy. Like there are lots of things that I'd like to be able to achieve that I can't, but I've got a way of playing things that works for me, and most of what I can hear I can cover, not all of it. My process of learning is always that my hands are trying to catch up with my ears and my mind.
Okay, siempre lo que le pasó que escuchaba mucho, entonces no estudió técnica clásica ni nada, entonces le cuesta llevar, bajar a la técnica lo que él está escuchando, ¿no? Y que todavía hoy trata de seguir estudiando como para poder bajar todo lo que tiene en la cabeza. Entonces su proceso de aprendizaje fue ese, poder bajar todo a las manos.
Yeah, so it's weird now because I kind of represent a generation of like chops people, which is very, very strange. I can't tell you, because for most of my life I was the person who understood it, but going like and executing the stuff like, my mind's always been very fast, but my hands, having not been trained, have always just been clambering to try and catch up. And so, that negative harmony video went out, and everyone sort of thought like, man, Jacob like studied really intensely as a kid, and like he's got all these crazy chops, and I did immerse myself in musical theory concepts, but I hated theory as a kid. It was horrible. It was like the thing I least wanted to do was sit down and talk about Roman numerals and all this stuff, and it took me to personally want to learn about music theory for myself. Like I was trying to find a way to get this chord more exciting, right? So it's like, how can you do that's exciting or that's exciting? And then I thought, well, there must be more, so there is, C major, and like, okay, so this note, C sharp in C major, so I thought, well, no one's talking about that, so I have to make my own word for it, so this is why I came up with
dos sostenidos sobre do mayor, nadie me habla de eso, entonces tengo que hacer mi propio mundo.
Yeah, so this is why I came up with the super Lydian.
Super Lydian.
Yeah, because this is like a sharp 15. And then this is like a sharp 9.
Quincena sostenida.
So, yeah. So,
diezinovenas sostenidas.
Yeah. And you're in C. You're still in C. So.
Estamos en do todavía.
Yeah. Anyway, this, these sounds, like, look at the difference between this sound and this sound. Super insane, huh?
La diferencia entre estos dos sonidos es súper loca.
But
What are you adding?
so yeah, so this is C, G, B, D, F, yeah. And then this one is fourths.
Cuartas.
Yeah. So for me this is major and minor. Minor is fourths. This is C minor, and then C major is this. You know, F in a C major Lydian.
Fa en un do mayor lidio.
This really crazy sounds, and honestly, like I didn't know why jazz people weren't talking about it, because jazz people are all about like, let's get the most extensions, and all these kinds of chords, like, but no one was doing that. No one was doing that, which I didn't understand, because it makes all the sense in the world. That's G, F, B, D sharp, F sharp, F sharp,
G,
G, F,
okay, sol, fa, si,
G, B.
si.
Oh, sorry, B for you is the same, right?
Yeah,
Good.
si.
Yeah. So G, F, B, D sharp,
Re sostenido, fa sostenido.
yeah. So you get these weird sounds, and like, but makes all the sense.
Y tiene muchísimo sentido esa resolución.
You're playing the same notes, but like instead of in fifth, in fourth, and that makes it sound. Is that what you're saying?
This example is not that. This example is just that in jazz, this chord doesn't exist.
En el jazz este acorde no existe.
But because it has an F sharp in it, this is G7.
Porque es un sol dominante que tiene fa sostenido.
But B major, G7.
Tiene como si mayor sobre sol.
But just that sound. Yeah. Since when was that? Oh shit, sorry. That. A chord, like, no one did this. Unless they you could validate it as like, oh, it's like a secondary dominant because D7. But like, no one was doing that, is not a valid chord. This amazing sounds. And Britten was all over this, man. Benjamin Britten, the composer from
Benjamin Britten está
he was
hacia
all over
estas
this. He
cosas.
would come with the most amazing sounds, like this kind of sound. Like, and in jazz, this does exist. It's like a 11 chord or something. But that as a
En
sound,
el jazz un acorde con oncena.
yeah, that as a sound is, for me, was a lot more interesting than like, which was like a jazzy chord, like. Suddenly you get like.
Todos estos sonidos para él que el jazz teorizó, ya existían, estaba buscando más.
Yeah, so you get these jazz cadences, and you go like very good, yeah. Then you go like. It's like now we're talking, it's just colourful, like this chord. That is no name. There's no name for that chord.
No hay nombre para ese acorde.
And I've spoken to Herbie Hancock about this, funny enough. Because there's a tune that Wayne Shorter taught to Herbie called "Don't Follow the Crowd." He goes. That chord is A major 7 sharp 5. A major 7.
La mayor dominante con quinta condado.
And that is going there. So major 7 sharp 5 being used as a dominant chord. Like, this is interesting stuff. And if this is like crazy theoretical for a second and it's scary, don't panic, because basically what I'm saying is that you can take sounds like a triad. Triad is 3 notes, a major triad is one of the most commonly used sounds we have, and you can stick that triad anywhere you want, and it's a strong sound. So yeah.
La mayor, séptima mayor, major 7, sharp 5.
This is a major 7 sharp 5, but this is a triad. Triad, yeah.
Okay. Pero el acorde anterior no era dominante, sino que era un mayor séptima con quinta aumentada, utilizado como dominante, ¿no?
Yeah. So that suddenly becomes a valid cadence, because when you do arranging, all that really matters is that you illustrate the cadence correctly. Where do I begin and where do I end? And then it's just to do with finding the right way to get there. So, yeah, I'm going to D flat and I can go, and then they let me into jazz school, and then I can also go, which is the negative version of that, the plagal cadence.
Ahí está, tocó una cadencia típica de jazz, que lo dejan entrar a la escuela de jazz, y ahora está haciendo la versión de armonía negativa de esa misma cadencia.
Yeah, so in jazz you have this thing. Just to go over the negative harmony thing for a second. So 3 6 2 5 1. You guys know about this? Yeah.
Tercero, sexto, segundo, quinto, primero.
Yeah.
Todo corazón.
Yeah. Very, very great. Yeah. Okay. And that's fantastic. And absolutely love it. You can have great fun with that. There's a thing that folk musicians often do, which is like if you're in a key. Sorry.
Sí, hay una cosa que suelen hacer los cantantes folk, que es.
Oh yeah, the folk thing is if you're in a key like this, then going like it's just so lovely, and that's called a plagal cadence.
Esta es la cadencia plagal que suelen hacer mucho los cantantes folk.
So yeah, plagal cadence, and so this is G major. We're going C.
Es como el sol, do, sol.
But then if we go, yeah, so F, C, G, yeah, F, C, G.
Bien, fa, do y sol.
Yeah, so and suddenly that is as valid as like
Todo esto es válido.
yeah, and you can obviously you can stretch that really far. You can go, like. That's 3 6 2 4 7 3 6 2 5 1.
Okay. Cuarto, séptimo, 4 7 3
6 2 5 1. Yeah.
Bien. Cuarto, séptimo, tercero, sexto, segundo, quinto, primero.
Yeah. So yeah. Let me get. Okay, yeah. So let me get that. So this is G. We're in G major, and this is C sharp minor 7, F sharp 7, B minor 7, E 7, A minor 7, D 7, G. This is normal one. So in negative harmony, how many steps was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 4, 6, 7. So F sharp, E,
C, mi.
suddenly I can even go from even one more. So. Sorry. Yeah. So actually, I've just realised that this is C sharp is our starting point.
Do sostenido es nuestro punto de partida.
So C sharp.
Do sostenido.
We can go to get to G, or we can go.
Podemos ir de esta forma.
Which is so. Do you guys know about the circle of fifths?
¿Conocen el círculo de quintas?
So C sharp, F sharp, B, E, A, D, G. Yeah. Or C sharp. What? D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C, G. Yeah. So this is the perfect one, and this is the plagal version just using major chords is. Oh no, is that right? That's the wrong way. Yeah.
Estamos yendo del do sostenido a sol, siguiendo el círculo de quintas, para el lado de los sostenidos y después para el lado de los bemoles.
Yeah. So. Really heartwarming, like. Yeah. So it's a bluesy, it's folky, it's bluesy.
Super blusero y super folk. That way you were going up in fifths.
I was going up.
C sharp, F sharp, B, E.
Yeah, so C sharp, A flat, what? D flat, A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C.
Oh, you were going to the flat.
So I'm kind of going down in 4.
Ok, estaba moviendo descendente por cuartas,
instead of up in fourths.
en vez de ascendente por cuartas.
Yeah. So what negative harmony is? Negative harmony is a term coined by a man named Steve Coleman, who is a very famous jazz educator who is very important in the 80s for jazz education. He has sort of founded and represented a lot of very, very crazy music theory concepts and brought them to the fore.
Okay, Steve Coleman fue el que trajo el concepto de armonía negativa al jazz en los 80.
Yeah. And one of the things that he says a lot is this thing about polarity and symmetry.
Polaridad y simetría.
So symmetry is one of the most important things to the whole of humanity. We've always loved symmetry, we've always tried to seek it. It's very, very interesting to think about something being balanced. So in harmony, there are lots of ways you could achieve this, and Steve Coleman unearthed an amazing book called A Theory of Harmony, which is by Ernst Levy. And Ernst Levy talks about polarity in harmony with classical composition. Yeah.
Okay, Ernst Levy tiene un libro, the name of the book was?
It's called A Theory of Harmony.
Una teoría de música, Ernst Levy, y habla de polaridad y de simetría, que dijo que nos encanta la simetría como seres humanos.
Yeah, and so, yeah, the book is about how do you achieve cadences, how could one invert cadences to give the same amount of gravity to the key center but from the opposite direction. So,
okay, ¿cómo podemos invertir la polaridad para invertir las cadencias, para llevarlas al mismo lugar, al mismo centro de reposo, pero para el lado contrario, ¿no? Con polaridad opuesta?
So there are lots of different ways in which you could do this. Ernst Levy talks about this one axis. There are lots of different axes that are possible. One possible axis is between 1 and 5 of the key center. So if you're in C major, you can flip every single note over this axis. This is what negative harmony is in terms of Ernst Levy.
Entonces se puede generar un punto de inflexión para dar vuelta como espejo toda la armonía.
Yeah. So what you have in C major. So
Sí.
if this is the axis is actually like, which is bang in the middle of E flat and E, because that's halfway between C and G.
El eje entre Do y Sol se encuentra en la mitad, justamente entre Mi bemol y Mi, que es la mitad.
Yeah, so we're in C major, and imagine this as a mirror, and every single note is going to go over the mirror and reveal the inverted cadence, but with the same gravity, because reflections maintain gravity, but they change the chord. So this is what Ernst Levy is trying to achieve here.
Okay, entonces estamos en Do mayor y se va a invertir la polaridad del acorde como si diéramos vuelta un espejo. Okay.
Yeah. So for example, C. So the most obvious way to get to C is G7. Yeah. So
Okay.
G7 being this chord.
Yes.
Right. Or you can also do this one.
Okay. La forma más típica de ir a Do es con Sol 7, ¿no? Con el quinto.
G7 traditionally is this. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate every note over the axis. Don't worry if sounds crazy because I'll explain it. So G becomes C.
Vamos a rotar a través del eje todo el acorde de Sol 7.
Because the axis is G to C. So G becomes C.
Entonces Sol se convierte en Do.
B
Si
becomes A flat.
se convierte en La bemol.
Because if you flip it over, you get that. Okay?
Bien, si lo das vuelta, obtenés eso.
So we have C and A flat, and then D
Re
becomes F,
se convierte en Fa
and F
y Fa
becomes D.
se convierte en Re.
So what was this? Becomes this.
Se transformó en
Okay. Now we know this sound. This is
D half diminished.
it's kind of like F minor 6.
Okay, es como un Re semi, él dice que es como un Fa menor sexta.
So C major, and either we go like this, we go like this, yeah, or we go like this. Yeah, and everyone knows that feeling. Everyone knows,
Fa menor sexta.
and it's very sweet.
So
Very.
whenever we change the key, you change also the axis.
Yes, yeah. Well, if you take it on a purely tonal basis, like we're in this key and we're flipping it over this key center, then yes, you would change the axis. If you're in E flat, then yeah, B flat 7 becomes A flat minor 6.
Sí, entonces si cambiamos de tonalidad, también cambiamos el eje.
So this concept is originally a melodic concept. So if you take
Es originalmente un concepto melódico.
yeah, if you take C major and flip it over the axis, you get, which is what Ernst Liebig calls C negative major. And what it is
Okay.
it's an F. It's a F phrygian descending from F because every interval is inverted. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone becomes tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone.
Bien, entonces do mayor invertido es do menor, C negative,
C negative major.
C negative, o sea, do mayor negativo da like F phrygian
G phrygian.
como sol frigio.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, so this is Ernst Liebig's idea is that you can have this is inverted and becomes this, and you can do like happy birthday. Yeah. Becomes what is it? Yeah, and then is that right? No, sorry, yeah. I should have rehearsed this beforehand. No. Something like that. Anyway, basically, yeah. There it is. Yeah. Then becomes. Happens to be. So you get this weird other melody, and in jazz improvisation it's really interesting if you invert the chord changes to a song and then you blow over those changes and then it gets crazy because it's like, but they arrive at the same place. And as I said before, it's like the arrival is so crucial that you can almost do anything to arrive in a place. And so what negative harmony gave me was basically another method of arriving in a place, So
Sí, entonces es otro método de arribar al mismo lugar. Sí, estaba diciendo que en la improvisación de jazz está bueno utilizarlo para llegar al destino de otra manera.
So everything perfect becomes plagal.
Todo lo perfecto se convierte en plagal.
And everything major becomes minor.
Y todo lo mayor se convierte en menor.
So if you have D7, G7, C major,
tenemos Re 7, Sol 7, Do mayor.
That becomes B flat minor 6,
C
F
menor,
minor 6, and actually C minor. But you can always use it to C major because C major is.
Eso se convierte en Si menor sexta, Fa menor sexta y Do menor.
So suddenly, if you're playing over you're playing over 251, and then you come up with some crazy negative language, like if you go sorry, if you go, instead of suddenly it's or even we're talking in French because this, the ear is led to C because, if you take a G7 chord, the B wants to rise to a C and the F wants to sing to an E, And if you flip that over, then we have F minor 6, the A flat, which is the B, so remember the B wanted to rise, and now we got an A flat that wants to fall. So all of the voice leading is completely intact, so that's what you have.
Bien, entonces teníamos, si lo hacemos de forma perfecta, el Fa quiere ir al Mi, si hacemos Sol 7 Do, el tritono se resuelve del Fa al Mi, del Si al Do, y cuando hacemos la armonía negativa también la conducción de voces queda intacta, el La bemol, A flat goes to G, La bemol va al Sol, and then F goes to E flat.
F goes to E flat, yeah.
El Fa
Well,
al
it's
Mi
better
bemol.
to look at it in terms of if you have G7, you got yeah, and then
Entonces D to E flat.
D to E flat,
Okay.
A flat to
Entonces,
G.
perfecto. El tritono La bemol Re resuelve a Sol y a Mi bemol.
So it's just a very interesting way of, you don't have to do this, but if you delve into symmetry is a very infinite and sound concept, and so if you, as you mentioned, if you take a D major triad in C, very bright sound, and if you flip D major over the axis, it becomes, well, first of all, major becomes minor, yeah, and then D on the circular fifths. If you have C here, C G D, yeah, C F B flat. So D becomes B flat, and D major becomes minor, so D major becomes B flat minor.
Ok, entonces está haciendo, you're doing D over C.
D major, I'm flipping D major over the axis of C major.
Bien, entonces lo que está haciendo es dar vuelta a Re mayor por sobre el eje de Do. And you get?
D major, well, D major becomes B flat minor.
Re mayor se transforma en Si bemol menor.
And anyway, it's interesting because they have the same amount of relationship to C, but they just come from completely different sides. So,
Tienen la misma relación hacia Do, pero vienen de lugares completamente diferentes.
yeah, I mean, honestly, you know, melodically, this is infinite as a concept, absolutely infinite. For me, as like a harmony freak, the most interesting thing I found is taking harmonies and flipping the chords. And honestly, just the philosophical idea of a plagal cadence is a really pleasing one to me. I think plagal cadences are great. It's like going inside the key instead of going outside of the key. Because if I go, yeah, well, sorry, forget that. If I go, then I'm arriving in a key. And whereas if I go, I'm just going like, you know.
Entonces la cadencia plagal le gusta mucho más porque es como estar
So, like,
dentro de la tonalidad, no el otro que voy a arribar a la tonalidad cuando voy de sol a do.
Yeah. Question, yeah.
Darle a alguien que quizá no puede dedicarse todo el tiempo a la música, o sea, quizá te encantaría estar, no sé, 4 días a la semana ahí dándole con todo, pero en realidad por cuestiones de la vida uno no puede a veces. ¿Qué recomendaciones, formas de estudiar para que no sea todo un torbellino de información y que cierta coherencia tenés en tus prácticas o algo que quizá nos pueda servir para que eso no sea todo un torbellino?
What kind of advice could you could you give to someone who doesn't have their whole lives dedicated to music? Just how would you let's say organize the study? How maybe about the learning process? Or what advice could you give?
Good question. So first of all, if you're making music, I'll give it a check. If you're making music, then normally, in my experience, the reason somebody wants to be a musician is because there are moments when they listen to music that make them go like, oh, that's really good.
Bien, entonces usualmente cuando uno elige ser músico es porque escucha música y siente y dice, uy, eso está buenísimo.
And then the reason why they want to dedicate their time to music is because they want to chase those moments. It's like chasing the goosebumps. It's like, why if I add a D? Why? Why does that make me feel so good?
Y el incentivo para hacer música es justamente eso, cuando se pone la piel de gallina y está todo el tiempo buscando ¿por qué pasó esto?
Yeah, and so, you know, and why if I move that later, why does it feel more groovy or less groovy? Just, you know, forming relationships with music. That was, for me, that's what I did. And I never thought, you know, oh, I'm going to be a musician, I'm going to make a career, I'm going to make money. I thought, I'm going to study this feeling because I freaking love this feeling and I want to learn about it.
Ok, perfecto. Esa fue su relación con la música. Tratar de perseguir ese sentimiento. No dijo, bueno, voy a dedicarme al negocio de la música, solamente se dedicó a tratar de entender y de seguir persiguiendo ese sentimiento hacia la música.
So the concept, sorry, one sec. The concept of following something that you really enjoy is a universal concept to everybody, right? Everybody knows that feeling. And for me, in music, you know, I think that as a concept is something that you can apply to whatever amount of time you have. So if you have 8 hours in a day to just do music only, you can go pretty deep, you can really get into it. If you have 20 minutes in a day, you can listen to music that you love, you can learn how to play music that you love, you can talk about music that you love, you can study in all sorts of ways, and nowadays you don't even need a teacher to do that. You can just engage your mind and your body in studying something because you love it, and that can take no time at all as long as you concentrate in the right way.
Ok, perfecto. Tengas 8 horas o tengas 20 minutos, si te concentras en el material con mucha profundidad y pasión y escuchar la música que te gusta, y hasta ahora no hace falta hasta inclusive ir a un profesor, puedes hasta estudiar con otros recursos. Tiene que ver con la profundidad aplicada a la cantidad de tiempo que tengas.
I think one interesting thing is that there's a sort of myth about teaching that you have to get through all of this muck before you get to the good bit. You know, oh man, I've got 6 years of scales and rudiments before I can play any good songs. You know,
Hay como un mito en la enseñanza de que tenés que pasar 6 años de escalas y rudimentos como para llegar a la parte que está buena.
So it might be that you have lessons, it might be that you don't have lessons on a musical instrument, but I'd recommend if you love music, and if you don't love music, I don't know why you're doing it. Really. If you do love music, then you can spend 10 minutes in a day. Just think, okay, maybe I have scales to practice, maybe I have rudiments to practice, maybe I have homework to do for music class. Ignore it for 1 second. Why do I love music? Why do I love music? What music do I love? And when I find music that I love, I'm going to learn that song. I'm going to spend, I'd say I have a 2-hour practice routine. I don't speak from experience, by the way. But say I have a 2-hour practice routine, as many people do. You know, maybe scales and repertoire and technique, and you're going to do it. And then I'm going to have a 10-minute window at the end of my practice scheme where I play Summer Soft by Stevie Wonder. I play that song because I love it. And today I'm going to play it in G major, and tomorrow I'm going to play it in D major, and I'm going to go all around the circle of fifths every single day for the next 2 weeks. And by the end of 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be able to play Summer Soft in all keys. That's awesome.
Ok, perfecto. Entonces vos podés tener una rutina de 2 horas donde tenés un montón de cosas para hacer, escalas, repertorio, un montón de cosas marcadas, pero está buenísimo no perder de vista lo que realmente te gusta y estudiar eso. Por ejemplo, él dio un ejemplo de una canción de Stevie Wonder y la toco, bueno, hoy le dedico, no sé, 10 minutos y la toco en una tonalidad. La semana que viene la toco en otra tonalidad y al cabo de 12 semanas la toqué en todas las tonalidades.
And it might be that, you know, it takes longer than 1 day to work a song out in its key, which is completely fair enough. So in that case, I'm going to do the first 4 bars of Summer Soft today, or I'm going to do the first 8 bars today, or I'm going to work out what key Summer Soft's in, or anything, you know. Just if you make a start in your own direction, then if you have a direction you're going in, then at any point in your life, you're going to have all this crazy stuff happening. And if you keep walking in your direction, you're going to have a direction you're going in. And that is inevitable. It doesn't matter what you do. You might be a musician, you might be an artist or a poet or a teacher or something completely different, like an engineer or something. But if there's something in your life that you do on a regular basis that is small and takes very little time, but you can regularly say, I attend to doing this, then your life, that something unconditional in your life, then you can do all of this crazy stuff and you'll still come back to this part. And that, for me, has always been music, because there's a world of mine. There's a thing that I can do. There's music that is to do with concentrating on my world and crafting things that are small. And so I do this stuff. I learn about music, I learn about life, and I go to school and all this kind of stuff, meet different people. And there's still this motion of me moving forwards, and that can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. But the fact is, it's for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for me. It's mine. You know.
Bien, perfecto. Él hace hincapié en que cada uno haga su propio camino, y aunque sea, si no tenés el tiempo suficiente, haces 4 compases u 8 compases de la canción que te gusta, pero lo tenés que mantener todos los días y seguir tu propio camino. Y eso, bueno, la vida te va a cruzar con un montón de actividades y cosas, pero está buenísimo. Y en toda actividad que hagas, la cuestión de mantenerlo regularmente, incondicionalmente. Okay, he says that right now there's like a craziness about things being immediate and you know, like a lot of information all together. And he says, well, maybe it's about just taking a little thing and work on that and be really profound with that.
Absolutely, 100%. Bang on. That's
100%.
totally correct. And I think if one... Oh, we are over time, right? Okay, let me just finish this one point. Yeah, that's fine. So anything regular is great, and some people do meditation, some people do whatever, some people have a meal with their family, you know, like everyone in their family comes and eats together. Something regular is really good, and for me, on tour, it's hard to find that, because, you know, every day you take a flight, you have and if you can find one moment just to sit with yourself and be, even just doing nothing regularly is fantastic.
Todo lo que haga regularmente está buenísimo. Hay gente que medita, gente que se junta a comer con la familia, todo lo que sea regular es fantástico. Él dice que cuando está en tour le cuesta muchísimo encontrar esos espacios, pero bueno, va por ahí, por la cuestión regular.
Very important. Is there time for one more question, or should we call it a day right here?
Just one.
One more question. Anybody? Yes, sir.
How it works, your loop system on your live show?
Oh, nice.
¿Cómo?
with I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
¿Cómo funciona el sistema de loop en el show? ¿No? Y básicamente
So
eso.
here we have another 55 minutes of masterclass.
Si tuviéramos 55
So
minutos más.
to oversimplify it, it's a circle of musical instruments. This is what I'm doing tomorrow, by the way. You guys coming to the show tomorrow?
Yeah.
So
Es lo que va a hacer mañana en el show.
circle of musical instruments.
Círculo de instrumentos musicales.
And there are 5 looping machines, 5 loopers. Well, actually, it's 1 looping machine, but it controls 5 different looping stations.
Bien, hay una máquina central de loops que controla 5 máquinas de loops diferentes.
Drum kit, percussion, keys, bass, vocals. Okay?
Tienen un set de batería, bajo, synth, percusión y contrabajo.
Bass or bass,
Bajo,
same
okay.
thing, and
Los dos bajos
and voice.
y la voz.
Yeah. And so everything lives in one massive Ableton session. Okay?
Todo convive en una super sesión de Ableton.
And there's a bunch of crazy routing where the loopers send to the mixer and they send back, and they spit out a different sound that they get in. So there's a looper channel, and then there's a drive channel for each station, and there's a lot of inputs for the show.
Hay muchos inputs para el show y
More than bands.
se va mezclando, hay un ruteo super loco de cosas que van entrando dry y van entrando wet, etc.
And so the way it works. So the video I'll get to in a second. So basically the way the loops work is that I can either trigger a loop live or I can plan when a loop happens, and the latter is a lot more common. So often I sit down, or I did sit down for this show. I thought, okay, here's 8 songs. How am I going to do this live? Well, the best way to do it live would be I'm going to start with 2 bars percussion, and then I'm going to overdub for 6 bars more percussion. I'm going to go to bass, then on a 4-bar groove. That's going to play back for 12 bars. I'm going to play some piano for a second, loop 8 vocal loops, stop, and then I'm going to play bass and sing the melody. By which point the bass loop comes back in having changed key. You know?
Okay. Okay.
One guy stage with a system.
It's me. It's me in the past. So I sat and yeah. So I sat and organised when the loops happened, and then yes, I do have somebody side of stage who helps me just make sure everything's going to plan. But all I do is I have a launch pad, and I can trigger the beginning of the songs, and it's a crazy memory game for me. So it's like
entonces,
I know where I need to be at what point.
Se sienta a planear el show pensando qué cosas va a tener prelupeadas y qué cosas va a grabar en el momento. Y entonces es como un memory show para él, se va acordando todo lo que planeó y bueno, en qué momento tengo que tocar esto y en qué momento va a volver el loop para que vuelva a entrar en la tonalidad o modulado o lo que fuere.
Yeah.
Y lo maneja todo él básicamente del escenario y tiene a una persona afuera que controla que todo esté como funcionando como corresponde.
Yeah. So that's how. Does that make sense about the loopers and how they work?
Yeah, but if you want to make a space to improvise,
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Un espacio, si querés generar un espacio para improvisar, no podés. ¿O cómo haces?
With the public.
O con el público.
Right. So there are
Something free.
yeah. So there are 3 ways you can do this. One is that you have a section in a song where you can be free, and it's a certain length. So that is freedom within a section, right? So like there's.
You have
I have a certain amount of time and I do a solo and I move on. That's one way. The second way is that there's actually a way that I can jump off the rails. If I press the button on the launch pad or press the pedal, I can exit the session and do things, I can trigger things live, and then I can jump back into the session and resume it. So then I can be flexible with loops and stuff like that.
La primera es poder ser libre dentro de una sección que ya está dentro de la sesión de Ableton, ¿no? Entonces en esa sección ya lo pensó que va a ser libre. La otra es parar y que la sesión de Ableton deja de correr y entonces empieza a disparar cosas en tiempo real.
So for example, there's one song where I loop bass and I loop drums and then I get the audience to sing.
Spoiler.
Okay? And when the audience sings, it always takes audiences different amounts of time to learn, so I hop off the rails, teach them, and when I'm ready, it's like back on the rails. So you can stretch sections, you can make them smaller. But for me, the joy of the process has been learning how to be free within the constraints, because my brain always likes to be like, oh, I just want to be completely free in all situations, completely wavy, right? And actually, it's been really good for me to be on tour with one specific thing that I always do, because you get good at doing that. It's like, okay, if I have 8 percussion loops, 4 vocal loops, a bass loop, a drum loop, and then I play guitar every night, then every night I'm going to change what I play. And that improves the craft of of doing the show. You know, so that said, every few shows I change the order of the loops. I change the key of the song, I move it around, I add a section, and my crew find it so frustrating because they get used to something. It's like, and I say, hey, you know, because I've changed the session today. You know, it's really annoying. Why you keep on changing it? Because it's fun to change it, right? But I guess the thing I'm saying is that there's always a way to be free within your constraints, and that's kind of how the loopers have fed me over the past year or two. One final thing is the way that the video works is there are two Xbox cameras, Kinect cameras, that track my skeleton. And every time I make a loop, the audio of the loop sends the same message to the video, and I duplicate my body on stage. So on stage, on the screen, behind the stage, big screen. So I step out, you see me step out of my own body and play more than one instrument. So if I 4 bars of drums and then I go play bass, I walk to play bass. On the screen, you see the real Jacob. One Jacob continues playing the drums he just played, it loops, and the other one steps out and plays bass. So if there's a groove of keys, drums, bass, and whatever, and vocals, you see 4 Jacobs on the stage at one time, all live, and all in 3D.
Okay, de la manera que funciona el video es, él va pisando los loops, entonces eso está sinqueado con el video, y queda él en cámara, digamos, tocando ese loop que suena de fondo, y después vos ves al Jacob real y al Jacob que quedó tocando el loop del instrumento, ¿no?
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just come to the show. Yeah. For another time. We have to stop now, right?
Hay otra masterclass mañana miércoles de 12 a 14. Si alguien se quedó con preguntas, Teatro Monteviejo, mañana 12.
One thing I'd like to say first of all is thank you so much.
No,
thank you so much for coming along. This has been super fun. It's always a pleasure to show people things, but you guys are super interested and ask good questions, so thank you. And see you guys tomorrow for the show, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you.